Picture this. You're in a room with 200 people. You can hear them breathing, smell them, feel the heat of their bodies pressed against yours, and you've never been more alone in your life. That was Dostoevsky in Siberian prison. Surrounded by people every single minute of every single day for 4 years. Never alone, never quiet, never private, and yet completely devastatingly isolated. He wrote, "In all the 10 years of my term, not once, not for a single minute would I be alone in a crowd." The worst kind of loneliness. Sound familiar? You can have 1,000 followers and 0 friends. You can be in a relationship and feel utterly unseen. You can be surrounded by family and feel like a stranger in your own life. Dostoevsky understood this loneliness better than almost any writer who ever lived, because he didn't just observe it. He lived it. In prison, in poverty, in his failed relationships, in the gap between who he was and who the world wanted him to be. And what he discovered about loneliness through his suffering, his writing, his life, is brutal, honest, and surprisingly hopeful. This isn't a self-help listicle. This isn't 5 easy steps to never feel lonely again. This is the truth, raw and unfiltered. Let's talk about what Dostoevsky actually said about loneliness and what it means for you. Lesson 1. Loneliness isn't about being alone. Here's the first thing Dostoevsky teaches us. Loneliness and solitude are not the same thing. You can be alone without being lonely. And you can be lonely without being alone. In White Nights, Dostoevsky writes about a young man, a dreamer who lives in complete isolation. No friends, no family, no romantic attachments, just books and fantasies. And for years, he's fine. He's not happy exactly, but he's not suffering either. He's created this rich inner world of imagination where he's the hero of his own stories. The loneliness only becomes unbearable when he meets Nastenka, when he experiences real human connection for the first time. Then when she leaves, the isolation that was once bearable becomes torture. Because now he knows what he's missing. Loneliness isn't the absence of people. It's the absence of connection. It's the feeling of being unseen, unknown, ununderstood. You can work in an office full of people and feel invisible. You can scroll through hundreds of social media posts and feel like nobody really sees you. That's the loneliness Dostoevsky understood. Not the quiet of an empty room, but the silence of being surrounded by people who don't know you exist. Lesson 2. We create our own isolation. Here's the brutal truth Dostoevsky forces us to face. Sometimes we're the architects of our own loneliness. The dreamer in White Nights is lonely by choice. He could go outside. He could talk to people. He could join society. But he doesn't. Because his fantasies are safer than reality. His imaginary relationships are easier than real ones. In his head, he's never rejected, never misunderstood, never hurt. Real people are messy, complicated, unpredictable. They might not like you. They might leave you. They might see the parts of yourself you try to hide. So the dreamer stays in his room, and he convinces himself he's content. Dostoevsky asks, how many of us are doing the same thing? How many of us claim we're introverted when we're actually just afraid? How many of us say we prefer being alone when what we really mean is, I'm terrified of being rejected, so I reject everyone first? The brutal honesty. Sometimes loneliness is something that happens to us. But often, it's something we choose because the alternative feels too risky. If you've built walls around yourself and then wonder why nobody can reach you, that's on you. Dostoevsky doesn't say this to judge. He says it because recognizing your own role in your isolation is the first step toward breaking free from it. Stop waiting to be saved in White Nights. The dreamer falls desperately in love with Nastenka. He sees her as his salvation, the person who will finally pull him out of his isolation and into real life. And for 4 magical nights it works. He's alive, he's connected, he matters. Then she chooses someone else, and he's more alone than ever. Here's what Dostoevsky is showing us. You cannot outsource your healing to another person, so many of us think. If I just find the right person, the right friend, the right partner, the right community, then I'll stop being lonely. But that's not how it works. Because even if you find that person, you're still bringing your same broken patterns into the relationship. You're still carrying your fear of vulnerability. You're still hiding parts of yourself. You're still expecting them to fill a void that only you can fill. And when they inevitably can't be everything you need, when they have their own lives, their own problems, their own limitations, you'll feel betrayed, abandoned, more alone than before. A hard truth, another person can ease your loneliness, but they can't cure it. That's your job. You have to learn to be with yourself first, to actually like your own company, to build a life that feels meaningful even when you're alone. Only then can you connect with others from a place of wholeness instead of desperation. Lesson 4, Suffering Connects US. Here's where Dostoevsky gets deep. After Siberian prison, he wrote, "Man is a creature that can get accustomed to anything." He saw men endure unimaginable suffering. And he noticed something: shared suffering creates connection. The prisoners bonded over their pain. They understood each other in ways that people outside the prison never could. Their suffering became a language, a way of seeing and being seen. Dostoevsky realized loneliness often comes from the belief that nobody understands what you're going through. You think, nobody gets it, nobody has felt this pain, I'm uniquely broken. But that's a lie. Everyone suffers. Everyone feels lonely. Everyone questions their worth. Everyone fears rejection. Everyone hides parts of themselves. Your pain isn't unique, and that's actually good news, because it means you're not as alone as you think. The practice: stop hiding your struggles. Stop pretending everything's fine. Stop performing happiness when you're drowning. Find people who've been through similar pain, not to wallow in it, but to realize you're not the only one. Dostoevsky found this in prison. You can find it in support groups, online communities, honest conversations with friends, therapy. Vulnerability is terrifying, but it's also the antidote to loneliness. Lesson 5. Loneliness can be transformative. Here's the most surprising thing Dostoevsky teaches. Loneliness isn't always bad. In fact, it can be the catalyst for profound growth. Dostoevsky's best work came from his loneliest periods. His isolation forced him to go deep into himself, into human nature, into questions about meaning and morality in existence. He wrote, "To be alone is the fate of all great souls. Not because great people are antisocial, but because profound thinking, creating, growing, it requires solitude. It requires sitting with discomfort. It requires facing yourself without distraction. Modern life is designed to prevent this. We're never alone, never quiet, never bored. Phone, TV, music, podcasts, social media, constant noise, constant distraction from our own thoughts. And when we finally are alone, we panic. We grab the phone. We feel the silence." Dostoevsky's challenge: what if you stopped running from loneliness and actually used it, even when it hurt, even when it failed, even when he ended up alone again? And that's the advice, not a formula, not a fix, but this. Keep trying, keep reaching out, keep being honest, keep loving even when it's scary. Because the alternative, giving up on connection entirely, is the real tragedy. You're lonely. Okay, so is Dostoevsky, so is everyone at some point, but you're not alone in that loneliness, and that somehow makes all the difference.